The journey from Panjim to Vijaydurg is quite good. At Panjim, after the visit of Aguada Fort and Chapora Fort at Mapusa bus stand the next morning. It took one whole day as the upper Aguada Fort is not accessible by city buses. The southwest monsoon rain in mid-July 2024 retarded the speed of the journey, which is natural. The morning bus from Mapusa, Goa was to Sawantawadi, Maharashtra. There was no direct bus to Malwa, Maharashtra then. The way to Sawantawadi town was through thick forests and occasional beautiful waterfalls. At Sawantawadi, after seeing the famous Palace Lake from the bus window, the journey to Malwa began. After breaking the journey in one or two populated places, the Maharashtra State Transport bus reached Malvan Sea Coast 1 in the afternoon, and it was night when completed the Sindhudurg Island Fort, so the journey forward was possible only in the morning. The ferry to the Sindhudurg Fort was stopped as the sea was too much wavy in the rain and wind. No ferry travel is possible throughout the coastal journey in mid-July. The MSTC bus passed through mango groves and forests and hilltop grasslands, sparsely populated villages, crossing several rivers to Devgad and Vijaydurg. Crystal clear waterfalls on the way carried rain water to the Arabian Sea through numerous streams and rivers, remained in memory as a stock memory next coming summer. In the afternoon reached Vijaydurg and completed the inside views of the big formerly island fort by nightfall, keeping the outside views for the next morning. There was bus to Ratnagiri only in the morning. Vijaydurg is a village-like place in the sea coast. Food from the sea coast shack in the raining morning is really hearty. The bus came in time from the depot and carried everybody. There were several school students in the bus at the beginning. The next fort in the itinerary is the Suvarnadurg Island Fort, and to reach there Ratnagiri bus is good route. Gradually the places became populated on the way to the Suvarnadurg.
In 1653, Chatrapati Shivaji Maharaj captured this fort from Adil Shah of Bijapur and renamed it as Vijaydurg, the Fort of Victory. The original name of the fort was Garia, and the first fortification appears to have been constructed in 1200 during the regime of Raja Bhoj II. It is the oldest fort of the Sindhudurg coast. Garia is the name of a nearby coastal village, and it's still there as per the watcher of the Maharashtra Tourism Rest House closed under repair at Vijayadurg Fort. Chatrapati Shivaji Maharaj developed Vijaydurg as an important base for Maratha warships. Maratha Empire looked to be in a decline after the death of Chatrapati Shivaji Maharaj in 1680, when his son and successor Sambhaji was captured by Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb and brutally tortured to death on 21 March 1689. Later in that year, the fort of Raigad fell in the hand of Mughals. Wife of Shambhaji Maharaj and his infant son Shahu Maharaj along with many others were captured and were treated as state prisoners. Shivaji Maharaj's second wife's son Raja Ram then took in charge of the Maratha Empire. Inspired by the valiant death of Shambhaji Maharaj, they fought back against the Mughals. It was during his reign Kanhoji Angre alias Kanaji Angria became admiral of naval army of the Marathas. In 1698, Kanhoji made Vijaydurg the capital of his territory along the coast. In 1700, Raja Ram died. Tarabai, the brave widow of Raja Ram, took over the control of the Maratha Empire. Putting her infant son on the Maratha throne styled as Shivaji II, Tarabai led successful operations against the Mughal from 1700 to 1707. Taking advantage of the discomfiture of Shivaji's ruling house, Kanhoji Angre became the most powerful and independent naval chief of west coast of India. Tarabai gave Kanhoji title of Sarkel or Admiral. At one time Kanhoji Angre was master of the whole coast from Bombay, now Mumbai, to Bengaluru. Aurangzeb died in 1707 and Shahu was released from the clutches of Mughals. He challenged Tarabai and her son's legitimacy to the Maratha throne. The Marathas were divided, but ultimately Shahu won the right to the throne as Chatrapati, and Tarabai was retreated to rule a small area of Kolhapur under the name of his son Shivaji II in 1713. She was later overthrown and imprisoned till her death by her husband's second wife Rajas Bai. In the same year, Shahuji sent his Peshwa or Prime Minister, Balaji Viswanath, from his headquarters at Satara to negotiate with Kanhoji Angre. Kanhoji agreed to acknowledge allegiance to Satara and shift his loyalty from Tarabai. In return, Kanhoji was confirmed command of the Maratha fleet, and granted 26 forts and fortified places with their dependent villages. Vijaydurg is said to be the oldest fort in Sindhudurg coast. In the pre-independence era it was also known as Eastern Gibraltar. This is because the fort was almost unconquerable. Under the leadership of Kanhoji Angre, it withstood many naval attacks by the British and the Dutch. Kanhoji Angre died on 4 July 1729 and the Angre's control of the fort ended in 1756, after the Peshwa-British alliance defeated the Angres clan. In 1818 Vijaydurg was completely in the hand of the British Empire. History goes more or less as follows. After the death of Kanhoji Angre, there were two short reigns by Sarfoji and Sambhaji. The two brothers Manahi and Tulaji started fighting for the Angre throne. Nanasaheb Peshwa had intervened in the disputes between Manahi and Tulaji. This created two spheres of influence, Manahi in the north at Kulaba and Tulaji in the south at Vijaydurg. Tulaji Angre was favored by Shahu and was appointed as Sarkel or Admiral of the Maratha Navy. This was against the will of Nanasaheb Peshwa. Tulaji was brave and a much more skillful seaman than Manahi. This had gained him the favor of Shahu. In a brief span, he had surpassed the record of his predecessors in the number of English ships captured. Charlotte of Madras, William of Bombay, Spurn of Bengal and Derby, Restoration, Pilot, Augusta and Dadawa of Surat. He had also captured Anjanbal from the cities of Hanhira. Another reason for the Peshwa to go against Tulaji was that Tulaji refused to admit the Peshwa as his superior, maintaining that both were equal servants of the Chatrapati. He refused to pay revenue contribution and even annoyed the Peshwa by raiding his territory. Nanasaheb could do nothing as long as Shahu was alive, but after his death in 1749, Peshwa was free to wreak his vengeance on Tulaji. After the death of Shahu, Peshwa was the next most influential ruler among the ones with huge armies and numerous land forts under his command or at his disposal under ownership of his vassals. Nana Saheb sought assistance of the English at Bombay to end Tulaji's reign. A treaty was signed according to which a ground force under command of the Peshwa and a naval force under command of the company would attack and destroy Tulaji. Among other articles, the treaty provided that Fort Vijaydurg, when captured, would be given to the Peshwa. In 1755, Commodore James of Bombay attacked the Fort Suvarnadurg while the Peshwa's army started capturing land and other coastal forts of Angray. This isolated Suvarnadurg from landward. Commodore James first bombarded the fort from the west. 800 shots and shells were expended at a range of 100 yards, but the walls did not collapse. He then entered the channel between the fort and the coast and fired on the eastern face as well as the main gate. Both gave way. Some of the garrison tried to escape from the fort by a tunnel running into the sea, but were discovered and killed. Considerable damage had been caused inside the fort by the bombardment, and the garrison, finding no hope of relief or reinforcements, surrendered. Commodore James returned to Bombay for the monsoons. After the fall of Suvarnadurg and all other forts of the Angray, Vijaydurg was the only fort left under the command of Subedar Sibat Aramar Sardar Anandrao Dulap. In 1756, a large force under Admiral Watson converged on Vijaydurg. Watson had arrived at Bombay from eastern waters and had with him Colonel Clive with 500 marines. The English ships took station with Watson flying his flag on the Protector. 2 bomb vessels were in the extreme east. The Maratha ships were anchored at the mouth of the creek, close to the fort. They all were bunched up, almost hull to hull. Amongst these was the company's ship Restoration, which caught fire. The fire spread rapidly till the entire Angray fleet was destroyed. The bombardment of the fort had caused considerable damage inside the fort and magazine had been blown up. Tulaji, meanwhile, had left the fort and gone to the Peshwa's camp seeking a negotiation, but was promptly arrested and sent to one of the inland forts as a prisoner. The garrison was asked to surrender, and in the absence of any response, Clive landed his marines on the 11th of February 1756, entered and captured the fort. A huge amount of booty was captured. 250 pieces of cannons, stores and ammunition, 100,000 rupees and 30,000 invaluable items fell into English hands. Vijaydurg was not handed over immediately to the Peshwa as per the terms of the treaty. It was eventually given up, but only after the company obtained Bangkok in exchange. The Battle of Vijaydurg marks the end of the Maratha navy as a potent force. The Maratha Admiral Dulap captured some ships later. The Sawants of Sawantwadi, the Chatrapati of Kolhapur and the Gaikwads of Baroda, all had a few ships. But the command of the seas, for all practical purposes, had passed to the company permanently. They achieved this in 1756 only because of the alliance with the Peshwa. Vijaydurg, the oldest fort on the Sindhudurg coast, was constructed during 1193–1205, the regime of Raja Bhoja II of the Shilahar dynasty, and restructured by Shivaji. Earlier, the fort encompassed an area of 5 acres and was surrounded by sea on all 4 sides. Over the years, the eastern trench was reclaimed and a road constructed thereon. Presently the area of fort is about 17 acres and is surrounded by the Arabian Sea on 3 sides. Shivaji extended the area of the fort by constructing 3 walls on the eastern side, each 36 meters high. He also constructed 20 bastions. Vijaydurg Fort was called the Eastern Gibraltar, as it was virtually impregnable. Its locational advantages include the 40 kilometers long Wagodan-Karapatan Creek. Large vessels cannot enter the shallow water of this creek. Also, Maratha warships could be anchored in this creek and yet remain invisible from the sea. It is a protected monument. Vijaydurg Fort is located at the tip of the peninsular region of Vijaydurg in Devgad Taluka, of district Sindhudurg. It is one of the several coastal forts on the western coast of Maharashtra, India. It is surrounded by water on all the four sides but connected to the land through a narrow road. The port adjacent to the fort is a natural port and is still used by local fishermen.